Welcome to Tone Deaf, a theater nerd's guide for their musically challenged spouse. I'm Kay, a musical theater nerd.
And I'm Warren, without my screaming pillow.
Yeah, you're not gonna need it yet, but
I don't like that yet.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Yeah, sorry. So, I wasn't originally sure if I would do this play this year, but I decided no, we need to cover this one, especially so that you have context for the Colored Museum. That's George C. Wolfe's play that I'm kind of leading you up to this year.
Okay.
So, today we are going to be covering Native Son, which is the stage adaptation of Richard Wright's 1940 novel of the same name. The version we're covering is not going to be the original one for a couple of reasons. I couldn't find a stage production of the 1941 script, and I didn't want to read a whole play this year because I don't have that kind of energy. So, the version that we're watching is going to be one of the revival versions, but this whole intro is going to be about the original 1941 version, because you do need to know how it came about so that you understand the differences if you ever read Native Son from the book to the play, because there are some major differences.
Seems legit.
So, have you ever heard this quote by James Baldwin? "No American Negro exists who does not have his private Bigger Thomas in his skull."
I can't say I have, because the phrase Private Bigger Thomas, I have no idea how to unpack that.
You will learn about that today, because that references the book Native Son as well as the play that we're going to be watching. So it's also where criticisms of certain tropes and character archetypes that became more common in the 40s and 50s comes from as well, including from James Baldwin. He criticizes some of the archetypes set forward in this play. The play and the novel. And the novel is written by a black man, by Richard Wright. But we'll get into the but in a minute, actually. So I actually do highly recommend reading the book this is based on or listening to it in audiobook format, but right now we're going to do background for the play, not the book. This is also a play and book that will definitely be about that double consciousness thing that we talked about last year. That's going to play very heavily into this. And you'll need the screaming pillow while we watch it, and possibly while reacting.
Oh.
I'm sorry. So, the first stage adaptation of Native Son came in 1941. This one is a bit controversial, but not completely for the reasons you might be thinking. A little bit, yes, but not completely. Or maybe because theater can be a mess sometimes, you are thinking about, yeah, this tracks. So, there was a little movie out that was being made at this time called Citizen Kane.
I've heard of it.
You've heard of it. Awesome. So that was by Herman Mankiewicz and John Houseman. So after they dotted the last rosebud, they set their sights on this hip new novel by Richard Wright. And Houseman was the one to contact Richard Wright, being all, "Hey, so I love your new novel, and I want to make a script about it." And Richard Wright is like, "So I kinda already gave the rights to Paul Green because he's better at handling black shows, and you know how it is, right?" And Houseman's all sad, but is like, "Yeah, I know he wrote Abraham's Bosom, but he's also got, like, a viewpoint about race that, are you sure you want to work with him and not me? I don't think he can handle the nuance and violence that's in your book." And Wright is all, "Yeah, the ink's already dry, and he said that he would be good." So
he said he would be good when handling this topic.
yeah. So Green invites Wright to join. Paul Green invites Wright to join him in South Carolina, and while he's working on the play, changes start happening. So this stuff with Bigger Thomas, can we have him be partially responsible for what he did? I mean, yeah, we can do that. And this communism stuff, it is the 1940s, so can we make these scenes a little less serious? You know, because it's the 40s? Yeah. You can see where this is going.
That he just changes it quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. So Houseman is being like Jules Verne with Edgar Allan Poe, and is like, I'm gonna get the rights to producing this because I really love this book. And Paul? Richard? Why are you tense? Wait. Where's the awesome premise that Bigger couldn't escape this horrible white supremacist structure without violence? Green? Green, did you do this? And Green is like, Richard didn't tell me anything. And Wright's like, I'm not about to publicly disagree with a powerful Southern white guy who's one of the few prominent Southern allies black people have right now because both sides would just love that. And Houseman is like, but this ending, I loved the original ending. What is this? A black god single and alone? But the original ending had a better moral. And watermelon? What is this race? Richard, do something! And Richard's like, I said I'm not arguing, and I'm not.
I know what he could do. Give me, Warren, the watermelon.
So, well, anyway. Orson Welles is brought in to direct, and Houseman was like, oh, thank goodness. Citizen Kane will at least be a good director and help fix this. So, because Green didn't go to the rehearsals, Houseman pulls Wright aside and is like, rewrites happen all the time, Richard. Let's fix at least some of this. And they do.
Okay.
And Green shows up for the final rehearsal and is like, What is this? Where's my ending? Where's the stuff I added in? And he demands that they revert, and they're like, sorry, last rehearsal, can't.
Take that, Green.
Yeah, so they open as rehearsed on March 24th, 1941 at the Mercury Theater. The actor who played Bigger Thomas in this production was played by Canada Lee. And this was about the only thing audiences were united in liking.
Oh.
Because the 40s and communism and subversiveness and making white people feel a little guilty and...
For what?
Yeah.
For what, Kay?
Oh, you'll find out. So then Green revives it in 1969 and changes the setting to the 60s to kind of update it. Then it's revived again in 2006 by Kent Gash, and it's more like the original book than the play that Green had written back in the 40s. And then it's revived again by Nambi E. Kelley, and this is going to be the version that we watch, and the version will be the final dress rehearsal for Marin Theatre Company's 2016 production.
Okay.
Yep. So, any questions?
So, is this a musical or a straight play?
Straight play.
Okay.
Oh, and there are also film adaptations of this, but I didn't want to have to comb through and see which one was closer to one of the plays. I figured this is a lot easier to do. Someday we could look at the movies, but when I can, I like to stick to the play more if I'm introducing you to a play.
I'm totally fine with that.
Excellent. So, are you ready to go watch Native Son?
I guess? I mean, after that intro, I'm like, okay, it was bad, and then good, and then wait, bad or good? Wait, they changed it to make it more like the book, but then people didn't like that, and then it was revitalized again, and I'm not sure how that... So yeah, I'm kind of not entirely sure what's going on, but I'm here for the ride.
No worries. And The information that I got, other than like pulling from online sources, Black Theater USA is an excellent book. I referenced it last year, and that's still the case for this year too, for ones that are covered in Black Theater USA. So let's go watch some Native Son.
That's called a manual fade out.
Hey Warren.
Hey Kay.
Do you know what time it is?
Is it time to thank our Patreon sponsors?
It is!
Woo! We would like to thank our stage crew sponsors, Reagan and Jasmine Wu.
And our Producer's Circle sponsors, Jesse, Bianucci, and Taylor Brandt.
Thank you all so much for your continued support of our show.
We truly appreciate it.
Feeling better for me is top priority, mentally, physically, and emotionally. They all work together. Talking about the things that we all may experience, but just don't quite know how to say, it really opens up some new dialogue and perspective. That's the goal here. Sometimes you gotta see yourself a little bit better and leave yourself alone because there are other people who see you for exactly who you are. And that's all good. We stay elevated here. But even Dr. Jekyll had a dark side. I mean, who doesn't love a good story to make the hairs on their arms stand up? I started to walk a little faster, just figuring if it was probably someone trying to scare me. It was like a hazing, but this didn't feel right. Night Owl is the hangout for those horror fans looking for a little bump in the night. Monday motivation, Friday frights. We like balance here, and the Bird Brain Podcast has it all. Take flight. Sleep tight.
And now, the lights are going down and the music's starting back up, so let's head back to the second act of our show. So, we took a little time, didn't record right after watching. How are you doing with it?
I have mixed feelings about it because it was a well-performed, engaging, deep story. And when I say deep, I guess I don't mean deep as in like philosophical, even though there is kind of
A little bit of that,
aspect.
yeah.
It stayed with me, and I thought about it, and it gave me some interesting ideas that we'll talk about. It hurts though.
Yeah.
It hurts an awful lot.
Yep.
And it's a complicated show.
Yeah.
It's a complicated show because you have this person who does a bad thing and then does more bad things, and especially the version that we watched, there's a lot of jumping back and forth between the present and the past and the present and alternate, like I don't know if the main character, Bigger Thomas, is imagining what's happening elsewhere, or if through the medium of theater they are actually showing us what's happening elsewhere.
They're showing us what's
they are
happening.
showing, okay, because it's one of those things, it's like, it's from his perspective, so when they do stuff like that, I don't know if it's his imagination or if it's if he's there somehow,
Yeah. And one thing that I had forgotten to bring up when we were going into this version is that, again, this is the most revival-y of revivals you could do, because the original 1941 is very linear. This is not.
This one actually starts at the end and then goes from the beginning it's I don't know, it's like it starts at the end and then it goes to the halfway point and then it goes back to the beginning. Like I said, it jumps around all over the place, which watching it, I feel like it doesn't do it a disservice when watching it. Typing up my notes, though, boy, did it make it tricky. Boy, did it make it tricky.
Yeah. And I do want to read the notes from the playwright Nambi E. Kelley on this version of Native Son. So she says, there are two biggers, public bigger and private bigger, two views of the same man. Public bigger is the bigger that everyone sees, that people talk about. The private bigger is the unseen man, the man within Bigger's consciousness, his secret thoughts, the voice in his head. At times, Bigger's inner self voices Bigger's thoughts as he acts or speaks directly to Bigger, but Bigger never sees or looks at him because he cannot look at the voice he is talking to. The only exceptions to that are the two moments where Bigger looks into a mirror and is able to see his consciousness, because his view of himself is distorted through the eyes of those who look at him with contempt and pity.
Mm-hmm.
Du Bois. The reflection he sees himself in the mirror is that of a black rat, much like the rat he kills at the top of the novel. He sees himself as the rat, someone who is dirty, disgusting, vile, sought after to be killed, undeserving of life, and goes on to say that this character, the black rat, is not negative. The idea of the double consciousness, as I understand it, is an internal mechanism that helps us to navigate, survive, and understand our duality as an African and as an American.
Beautifully put.
Mm-hmm.
That's more eloquent than I could surmise, and very, 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 very well put.
Yeah, and it basically ends saying that he is not the devil on the shoulder. In a sense, he is Bigger's higher self. But because Bigger does not understand his own greatness, he is blind to this.
I referred to the other Bigger as the dark side in my notes. I also referred to him as Suit because he's in a suit.
In a suit, yeah.
Which I thought was an interesting dynamic because you have Bigger who's in very humble clothing. He's just in, he's in a poor man's clothing.
Yeah.
Whereas his inner self is in this really nice, pinstripe suit with a tie and a hat and everything. And, I mean, it does kind of make sense to that extent because there's no way Bigger could afford clothing like that in this day and age with the way that he's, being kept down. So it's interesting that the internal version of Bigger has these finer things that are out of real world Bigger's reach.
Yeah. And this is an invention of Nambi for this play, because normally it's very much a straightforward, linear play, but it kind of glosses over some of the brutality of the novel. And so it's why, again, I was more like, no, I think we should still see this one instead of the watered down for 1940s audience.
Yeah, I would rather have, even though this one hit me hard, I would rather have the harder hitting medium that is more genuine and honest about the hardships that people face versus something that is watered down to be more appealing and less guilting of
and how it just spirals. One act leads to another, leads to another, leads to another. It just spirals out of control.
It really does, and we're gonna circle back in on that because it wasn't until the ending of the show, or I guess more or less the 11 o'clock scene, the scene that happens right before the totality of the finale, really gave me kind of an epiphany. And it's not a thought that I haven't had before, but it's a thought that's very subtly but truthfully represented in this. And what I'll say about that, because we'll talk on it more later, is how trauma passes down and how I don't want to say the term, the sins of the father are inherited by the son kind of thing, because it's not that kind of aspect. It's more of I don't want to say creating monsters either, because it's hard for me to vocalize what I'm trying to say, and so this will be an imperfect analogy, but society creates the monsters that they later have to deal with, is kind of how I'm going to put that. Because Bigger, when he's being pursued, is kind of a monster.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
And he's portrayed as a monster because he has, what started off as an accident, then becomes intention, then becomes...
Has to cover it up.
So, let's get into it, shall we? Do you have anything you'd like to say before I start reading my notes that...
I love you and I'm so sorry.
I love you too, and I'm also sorry for people who look like me that have treated people that look like you very bad for a long time.
Love you.
I love you. The show opens up with a chipper character talking about how there is the way the world sees you and the way you see yourself. But how you see yourself is reflective of how the world sees you. So if the world sees you negatively, you will see yourself negatively. And that is a much less poetic way of what you said when you read the...
It's less poetic version of what Nambi says in the show, in the playwright notes.
And of course, when I say the show opens up with a chipper character, that's complete and utter sarcasm. We see Bigger Thomas shirtless. He looks like he might be bound, cast mostly in shadow, giving this very somber and sobering monologue about how he's a worthless black rat. Onward, or downward, a very drunk lady is very, very drunk, and a kind black man, who is Bigger Thomas, we don't know that yet, is trying to help her into her room. But this drunk lady is a bit frisky, one might say, and she encourages this gentleman to make advances on her, and he does, after some prompting by her. However, the drunk woman's mother comes home, and she's blind, and she's calling out for her daughter, complaining that she smells the stench of alcohol. The black gentleman in question knows how it's going to look if he's seen with this drunk white lady. So he holds a pillow over her face to keep her quiet, and, so he's a killer now, and he's now panicking, understandably. And then he talks to himself. This is where, as Kay had mentioned, Private Bigger. I will refer to him as Suit. And Suit seems to be remembering the events as Bigger Thomas seems to be removed from the situation and being noticed by other people. So this is before I kind of were making these notes before the show explained itself a little bit more, because the first time we see Suit, we just think that I thought he was just a person who lived in that apartment complex who happened to see Bigger Thomas trying to carry this drunk lady, and initially when I saw that, then the way they looked at each other, I thought it was just Bigger Thomas going, "Oh no, this other person who lives in this apartment building is seeing me trying to carry this woman, like I'm gonna be in trouble just for trying to help get her into her home." But no, that was his inner self seeing him. Some of the way that they did stuff in this was confusing to my smooth brain. I did the best that I could.
It's almost like he caught himself in a mirror for a minute and just...
That's an excellent way of putting it. That is an excellent way of putting it. In the next scene, our manslaughterer is with his family, and they're freaking out about how there is a rat. And manslaughterer rat slaughters all... He rat slaughters, all the while venting some serious frustration on the rat. And, me kinda thinks that he's, taking some of his internal pain out on Mr. Whiskers over there. Because he really is going at this rat with a frying pan, just like, "You dirty son of a..." Just, "You worthless Pete." Like, just, he's venting all of his frustration about the world onto this rodent. And he gets stopped by his family because they're like, whoa.
Calm down.
Yeah, it's dead now. Calm down, Bigger. Anyways, the rat is dead, and Bigger Thomas, or BT as I'll be calling him, BT's mother and sister leave, and BT is left with his younger brother, and the two daydream. BT wants to be a pilot, but he can't 'cause racism. BT and his brother are playing pool, all while Mr. Suit just chills and watches. And I will say, I do like how they have him in this, because it is, he's an interesting set piece when other stuff is going on around him, and nobody interacts with him except Bigger, and the only time Bigger interacts with him is when it's just the two of them.
Yep.
So it's a dynamic that I enjoy, and
it's good.
I would not remove
chills thinking about
it.
it.
I would not remove it.
Yeah. It improves the source material.
The other reason that I like it as well is it adds another layer to Bigger.
Yes.
Because he's a damaged individual, as we'll talk later. Like, he got to this point in his life from a lot of garbage, and I don't want to say that it's kind of portrayed as if he has split personalities, but he is definitely...
He's dissociating.
Okay, thank you. Is the best way to put it, because there are times where he does talk to his other self in front of somebody, but he doesn't realize somebody's there, and then they say, "Who are you talking to?" And he's like, "None of your business." You know, kind of, nobody. I wasn't saying anything. You know, gets aggressive about it. Okay. Apparently, we're in the past though, because the dead drunk girl is not dead or drunk, and she's being introduced to BT. She's being introduced to BT by her blind mother, who is very protective. And also very talkative, as she gives BT her entire life story, and her husband's life story. Her husband, who seems to be dead... No, I found out later he's not dead, but he wasn't in the scene, and so it kind of made it sound like he was. But anyway, her husband was apprehended as a lad at a anti-lynching rally, and his father, drug him away from this anti-lynching rally. His father was a rich piece of crap, and then when his dad died... Mr. Anti-Lynch gave away all of his dad's money to a number of black organizations. So that's cool. Hey, if you go to an anti-lynching rally and you get in trouble for that, I already like you.
However, I did get vibes of, man, if I could have, I would have voted for Obama 3 times. And I'm just going...
From the mother?
From the mom and from the daughter. A little bit. Like, just sort of the... overcompensating sort of thing that can make one very uncomfortable.
You and I have had interesting topical conversations about that, because I really identified with those two, because as we've talked about before, there's been times where I've found myself around people that I don't know anything about, but based on their body language, I can already tell that they don't like me, just because they are assuming as a cis white man, at least, presenting and everything, that I am going to be like so many others and have it out for them, whether they be, gay or a minority or whatever. And so when I sense that, I tend to kind of, the phrase "kill them with kindness" kind of thing, I tend to try and be extra friendly so I can be like, "Hey, I'm one of the good ones," kind of thing. Is how I treat that. So when Mary, the drunk, soon-to-be dead girl, and the other character, Jan, who will be introduced later, when they are being really friendly with BT and trying to, treat him as an equal to help him relax, but all it does is make him tighten up more, because he's just like...
he's waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Yeah, exactly. I understand completely where they're coming from, because they're trying to... Because they're completely ignorant, and they say some really ignorant stuff, but it comes from a place of, we want to help.
Yeah.
I've been there.
Yeah.
I still am there from time to time. I get that. So... the entire time, I'm just sitting there just face-palming, because I'm identifying way too hard with those two. Just going, oh, this is me every time I've tried to make somebody not be concerned about me. And I'm not a intimidating person anyway. I mean, so...
You never told me, though, that you would have voted for Obama 3 times.
So, okay, and that's where I was... Well, I mean, I would have. But anyway. So getting there, what I meant to go with that is that reference for people who may not know is from
Get Out.
Thank you. Gosh, my brain. It's from Get Out. And in that movie, the people who seem like they are allies have malicious intents.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the case with these people.
No.
So that is the only point where I would argue with you on that is the whole, I would have voted for Obama 3 times if I could have, is that they are not...
They're not quite there.
They're not trying to get BT to lower his guard so that they can then take advantage of him. Mm-hmm. They're not trying to get him to lower his guard so that they can then do something terrible to him.
Yeah.
They are they're more on the Warren spectrum of, hey, we know you're a person. We know you're a person, and we know that all this stuff going on is bullcrap and is not fair. So that's...
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But no, like, when they said that line, I was just like, oh, I am feeling the discomfort right now that Bigger has. I could, like, feel that through the screen. He did such a good job reacting to that, because...
That actor was amazing, I will say, because he could go from confident to nervous to angry to, like, he could pull out his emotions, make them very believable, and just cycle through them. Like he is definitely a very skilled actor who is well forged in his craft, is how I would put that.
It's one of those things that it is a blessing for really all of the actors in this, but especially him, that this was only a 90-minute show. Because with one act, because I don't know how I don't know how you could keep that up for a 2-act show and keep it up for any longer, just going back and forth. Because I've had to do shows where you go back and forth with emotion, but luckily you have enough lulls that you can have time to not be in any of those emotions, or you have an intermission. With this, I'm just like, whew. I don't know how.
And he's on stage for most of the show. There's a couple scenes where he's not in it as much, but for the most part, he is front and center the entire time.
It's just like, whew.
Okay, so let's get back on track. So yes, we are back in the past. Not dead, not drunk girl is being introduced by her still blind mother, who is very protective and also very talkative. Yes, life story. Her husband got arrested at an anti-lynching rally, gave away all of his dad's money to black support groups. Anyways, BT doesn't seem to want to be the chauffeur for this rich lady, but with pressure from his family and his mama, who's threatening to throw him out if he doesn't get a job. Oh, and I asked Kay who the dude... Okay, we're...
I can see where the notes were having issues.
See, sometimes this, like, we'll talk about something for the listeners, and then I'll go into my notes, and then
I'm so sorry.
Addressing that thing. So yes, I will read this note just for completionists. Oh, and I asked Kay who the dude in the suit was, and instead of being the future BT, remembering his past, he's actually way worse. Suit is the dark side of BT, his worst aspect and impulses. Neat. Which...
I guess he's not really his worst aspect, but
he's not really his... And calling him his dark side isn't really fair either, because, I mean, to be fair, there are times to be fair, there are times that Suit says the things that BT then does, and those things are sometimes terrible. So calling him his dark side may work, but he is his inner self. He's the unspoken voice. He is
what he sees when he looks in the mirror. He is
Black Rat.
Yep, he is the Black Rat.
Which is interesting that they chose to give him a suit, because I don't know, maybe if they put him in like rags or something, that would have been too...
It wouldn't have, because it's still a double consciousness thing, so they've got to be as different from each other as possible.
Yeah, and see, I was going to say, is because BT is already kind of in ragged clothing, so if you would have put Rat in actual rags to make him look, more disheveled, more like a rat, That might have made him look too much like he would have belonged into the situation, but putting him in finer attire really removes him from everybody else.
Because, I mean, his attire is finer than anyone else on the stage, really.
Yeah, I mean,
like, even...
man-wise, I would say yes, because the blind lady wears some nice stuff, because, you know, she's a rich, older
But
lady.
it's not quite the semi-formal that he wears.
True.
And he's just always...
He looks like he's going to a club or something.
Yeah, he looks like he's dressed to the nines.
Like a 1940s club. Like a club that has one of those big bands, you know?
Mm-hmm. The proper nightclubs.
Yes.
Not what kids are going to these days.
You darn kids with your twerking clubs and your fancy drinks. I don't know.
And your person using their MP3 player to change the songs. Back in my day, we had a band doing that. Of course, back in my day, we were up close to each other at the nightclubs, and right now you can't do that. Right now, you gotta not go to the clubs, kids. Don't go to the clubs. That hurt.
Kay tries, and I appreciate that.
Ah, that hurt.
Anyways, Blind Mother says some weird stuff to BT, being all, "Oh, I lost my eyes during Prohibition to some bad rot gut, and I never finished school, and I have perfect hearing because I lost my eyesight, like Daredevil. Do you like comic books, BT? Oh, and I'm going to talk about how I imagine you to be a tall, handsome, and black as midnight." She's a little creepy. She's a little fetishizing of BT, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely is.
Yeah, just the way that she kind of... I don't know. Just the way that she
fetishizes him.
Yeah. Anyways. Blind Mother tells BT what his chauffeur duties will be, and part of that is tending to the furnace.
Uh-huh.
Okay, blind lady, as long as you pay me on time. We see BT watching some show with his brother about a white woman who was raised by tribal African people, and it's a thing.
Uh-huh.
I guess.
Uh-huh.
Also, more about BT wanting to be a pilot, but not being able to, 'cause racism.
Uh-huh.
That night, BT picks up Miss Daughter Mary Dalton. Why did I say it like that? I could just take out the daughter. That night, BT picks up Mary Dalton, the not yet drunk, not yet dead woman, who is supposed to go to the university, but she wants him to take her to the Loop, which I don't know what that is.
It's a club.
Okay.
Probably. It's either going to be a club or it's going to be... Yeah, I think it is a club because people saw Bigger drinking with the white woman and Jan, so...
Yes, Jan is about to be introduced.
Mm-hmm.
So they go to the Loop, apparently, to meet a communist buddy of Mary's, who is like, "I'm on your side, Bigger. Shake my hand. Don't pull your hand away. Look me in the eye. Don't call me sir." And I like Jan a lot.
Yeah.
I like Jan a lot because he's a communist guy trying to... They do seem like they're trying to recruit Bigger. And there's a part earlier in the thing where Mary's mother, blind Mrs. Dalton, is complaining about her daughter running off with a communist. And apparently, you know, they brought her home and they've been disciplining her and she's supposed to go to university and this and this and that. But she is sneaking away at night to go meet her communist, boyfriend. And yeah. And I like Jan because when he meets Bigger, Bigger's doing the don't look him in the eye. Yes, sir. Being very cowed, like visibly cowed, as in to make himself be as non-threatening as possible. And Jan is very much like, nope, you don't need to do that. Like, you don't need to do that at all. Shake my hand. Don't pull away. Look me in the eyes. No need to be afraid. Don't call me sir. And that is a reoccurring thing that happens in this, is that everybody tells Bigger, don't be scared. Don't be afraid.
Yeah.
Don't be scared. Don't be afraid. And that seems to be a trauma thing for him, which we will talk about later. But anytime somebody tells Bigger, don't be afraid, don't be scared, what? Are you scared? What? Are you afraid? Like, Bigger does not like that.
Nope.
Yeah. So, this Jan guy seems to be alright, even if he is rough around the edges. The two well-meaning white communists ask BT where they can get some good food and good booze on the south side, or something like that. Some side. The black side of town is basically like...
Well, and, like, what's crazy, though, is just how the way that they're saying stuff, and you can hear just sort of the internal, oh!
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. They're ignorant, and they're trying to show BT that they are not bad white people, and they are just fumbling all over themselves and doing it, and making BT incredibly uncomfortable, but he can't say that he's being incredibly uncomfortable, because at the same time, if these two were to flip on him, it's their word against his. Like, that's the issue, is that he finds himself in such a precarious situation, because if he's with these two white people and something bad happens, no matter what the situation is, it will affect him worse. He will be, if he's not fully blamed for it, he will get a worse punishment than they will. Just all the compounded injustice that we see in the modern era, but worse, because the 40s.
Yeah.
So, with that out of the way, Jan the mystery friend wants to drive the car, and both he and Mary want to sit right next to BT to show him that they're some of the good ones. But they just seem to mostly be unintentionally offensive, if well-meaning. BT keeps stopping time to pop out of his seat and have arguments with his brother and his dark side. Well, yeah. BT has a lot of emotion, and he also seems to be planning how to, get an alibi for the manslaughter to come incident. So, like, while he's... The way that they have the scene is that they're on a bench, Mary's on one side, Jan's on the other side, Jan's miming driving and stuff like that, and then time will freeze, BT will pop out of his seat, go over to another part of the stage, and engage in a memory or something. Like, there's a scene of him beating up his brother because his brother made a comment about him. Oh, what, are you scared, BT? And he's like, I'm not scared. How dare you say I'm scared? And he just beats the crap out of his brother.
And it was because they were supposed to rob a store.
Oh.
And it didn't happen because BT decided to get into a fight with his brother.
Okay.
Because he got triggered into a trauma loop because of the don't be scared.
Yeah, okay. I guess I missed that part, that they were supposed to go rob a store.
Yeah.
But he does those things. Like, he stops periodically through the scene to pop out of his seat, go do something else, and then comes back into his seat. Time fast forwards, and BT is talking to Mrs. Dalton, who is like, my daughter is missing, and other stuff. And BT gives his alibi of, well, she told me to take her here, and there, and over there, and I didn't kill her. A private detective shows up, hired by Mr. Dalton, to be incredibly racist and cause Warren to growl at the screen. I literally growled at the screen,
he did.
And it made Kay laugh.
And made Latte leave the room.
Did make the dog leave the room.
She's like, uh-oh. I thought we're not supposed to growl. Do I need to go get the no-no can?
When he starts throwing around slurs and saying incredibly rude stuff, it was an involuntary response,
The laughter, honestly, was involuntary, too. Just sort of a, yeah, this is happening.
Well, I think it was more you laughing at my response of growling rather than just screaming at the TV.
Yeah, it was an involuntary response to your response.
There we go. The detective asks BT what happened, and if BT was talked to by the communist. The detective asks a bunch of things that I won't repeat, because it would break Kay's rule. This detective is a real piece of something. Anyways, since BT has a super guilty conscience, he tells the detective that Jan the communist was the last one to see Mary, and the two were really drunk and just going at it. The scene changes to BT with his lady friend, who, did you ever catch her name?
I did not catch her name.
Well,
yeah.
Not that it matters in the long run.
Nope.
So, BT goes to meet his lady friend, showing her the money that he made, like $25 or something for I don't know if that's his weekly wage or what, but...
Yes.
For 1940s, probably?
Probably, yeah.
But yeah, so that's his chauffeur money.
The money that he hands her is not the chauffeur money. That is the money from the daughter's purse.
So he robbed her after?
He took the money, because there's this quick moment, if you miss it, where he takes the money out of the purse.
Is it when she's drunk before she
It's
gets
after
smothered?
she dies. After he smothers her, because he's trying to dispose of as much evidence, and he's like, well...
I'll just take this money.
Might as well.
I missed that bit.
Yeah.
Well...
Because he burns...
Well, we'll
talk about what he does.
Yeah, so the scene changes to BT with his lady friend, showing her the money that he made / stole. The two of them are about to get close to one another, but then the lady friend is like, "You feel different, BT. Were you with that white woman?" And BT physically changes the scene to the detective who is questioning Jan the communist, and the detective is still being a jerk, and I'm getting whiplash going back and forth between these scenes. Anyways, BT breaks down and confesses to his lady friend that he accidentally killed Mary Dalton, and that he talks to his dark side about what to do with the body, and he settles on burning the body in the furnace. This is going downhill real fast. BT forges a ransom note for Mary Dalton, who is dead, but he signs it red, so people think that it's the communists who kidnapped her, not
and signs
him.
it with his other hand.
Yeah, signs it with his other hand. Which, I mean, hey, that's clever.
That is
that
clever.
way it completely looks not like your handwriting. Then again, if I tried to sign something with my left hand, they'd be like, "Oh, this poor person wrote it with their mouth or their foot." These scribbles were not made by a human hand. Anyways, scene changes to Mrs. Dalton asking BT to clean some ashes out of the furnace. And I think we can all see where this is going. My bet, there's a skeleton in there, or at least some bones. Oh wait, never mind. This is when he's putting the body in the furnace. And the whole body won't fit in one piece, that is. So BT's dark side tells him to dismember the body so it will fit. Specifically, the head.
And add more coal to make it burn better.
Yeah, okay. Now we're in the present, I think, and racist detective and blind mother are complaining about how the furnace is backed up with ashes and smoking up the house. BT is unable to gather his nerves to clean some of the ashes from the furnace, and the racist detective takes the shovel from BT and goes to work. It's not long until he finds something. It's an earring. Mary's earring. And, some bone. Mary's bone. Mrs. Dalton and Detective Racist both freak out, and BT flees. He flees, and he falls, and has an argument with Suit about not being able to fly. BT then finds his way to his lady friend's place and says that they found Mary's body in the furnace, and that they have to leave. So, I will say that the part where he's fleeing from the scene and then he falls and Suit's over him and he's like, get up, whatever. And BT has this, I wish I could remember it better, but he has this thing, something about, I just want to fly away kind of thing like that. And
yeah, that's just, his deteriorating mental state is portrayed so well.
That's a very good point. It's one of those things that I didn't quite realize how much it was deteriorating until it got further along in it, but the way that the two sides of BT play off each other is just really good. They had really good stage chemistry.
Absolutely. Like, I keep getting chills thinking about how good this was, even though it was rough.
And it's really BT goes downhill even more from here. And I still have conflicting views on it because BT does some terrible stuff, but by the end of it, he's a very sympathetic character. Which, I mean, that... The world is not black and white. Even... No. Like, it's
the world's grayscale.
The world is grayscale. There's a lot of in-between, moral justifications for things, and the way that they do this character, it is very compelling because it started out with me feeling bad for him and then being like, oh wow, like, you really have it coming, and then by the end of it, I'm like, you didn't have a chance from the very beginning, like
Yeah.
as a kid. And, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, BT and his lady friend have fled, and, lady friend is upset and wanting to get drunk. She says that she's cold, and, BT puts himself around her. And she's like, oh, you're all warm. And then he tries to put himself on her. Then when she says stop, and, we'll leave it there, however. So,
Yep.
yes. After, I guess BT assaults her.
Yep.
He does a bad thing, and after the unpleasant incident, BT and Suit talk about what they need to do. They decide that they can't leave Lady Friend, and they can't take her with them, so the logical conclusion is to beat her to death with a brick.
Mm-hmm.
And throw her body out a window.
And down an air shaft.
This is just one horrible decision after another.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, BT threw her out the window before taking the money. And then he scrambles down to her body so that he can get the money. Priorities. Later, an unspecified amount of time later, BT goes out for a smoke, and he argues with Suit some more. BT snatches a paper from a newsie and reads the headline. I guess they're saying that BT assaulted and murdered Mary Dalton, and that because of the record snowfall all over New York is complete...
Chicago.
Oh, Chicago.
Yes.
I thought she was supposed to go to Chicago.
She was supposed to go to Detroit.
Oh! I don't know why I thought it was New York then. I guess I just assumed. I guess I thought about where is a big city that has had black people not treated well historically, and I guess I just defaulted to New York. So, my
You're
apologies,
fine, baby.
New York.
You're fine.
It's you, Chicago.
Chicago.
Big Louie from Chicago. Anyways. So yes, because of the record snowfall all around Chicago, or I'll call it not New York.
Midwest New York.
Because of all the record snowfall around not New York, it's completely blocked off, and the police will find him. BT then seems to psychically find him. See, this is the thing I was asking about with him, with the story showing what's actually going on when BT's not there, because it really feels like everything is done while BT is in the room from BT's perspective. And this scene right here, we see BT, he seems to psychically find himself at his mother's house as, I don't know who this person is that comes in, but they tell BT's family that the building is being condemned and that they have to move. BT either...
This is a memory. Yes.
Oh, okay, sorry.
From childhood.
Yeah, my apologies. I am thinking of a note later.
Okay.
This part definitely is a memory, because this woman who comes in and tells them this house needs to be condemned, they're going to have to leave, and they're like, well, where are we going to go? And she's kind of like, that's not my problem. You just can't stay here. BT then either physically or psychically goes after this lady, kicking his family out. So I guess since it's a memory, it was physically. As a 15-year-old, he assaults this woman and kind of kicks her out of their house. And then he goes back to the present, where he's very hungry and eating snow because he's so hungry. BT then has a memory of the last time he saw his father. He and his siblings were little. His parents were fighting. BT's father wanted to organize with other black men, and BT's mother was against it due to the fear her husband would be killed. Seems her fears were justified. BT finishes his trauma flashback and returns to the present where he's still hungry. And he decides to try and buy some bread. But it was a trap, and BT is caught by Jan, of all people, who just rages at BT about killing Mary, who he loved. Jan pulls a gun on BT and tells him to turn around, but then Jan just leaves. And then BT scales a building because he's cold and he wants to get inside for warmth. So I'm sure there's some creative stuff that I'm just not getting. But I did think it was weird how I thought Jan was going to do. He seemed like he was ready to kill BT.
Yeah.
Even though he was talking about, I don't hate you kind of thing. Jan is surprisingly understanding.
Jan's wrestling with his own inner
that sounds accurate.
anger, because he's also, I don't think that he completely believes the whole he raped her thing.
Oh, no.
I think that for him, he's like, something else happened, but that you still killed my girlfriend, but... Like, because in the book, Jan definitely tries to advocate for Bigger at the trial and everything, just like, no, don't, like, be lenient on him, don't do what you're gonna do to him, and because, that's... Jan is a more focused younger brother from Ragtime, because younger brother just goes from thing to thing to thing.
Younger brother, I know how to blow things up. Anyways, BT finds a spot somewhere in the building he hid in, and he hears some people fighting, but he finds a safe spot to hide and eat his bread. BT then has some flashback trauma to when his father was murdered, and his mom, who was hurting, didn't help either, as she told BT to look in that mirror. He's black, like that rat. Black like that rat, over and over again. She tells him some things to do, like never talk to white people unless they talk to you first, and always use sir or ma'am after each reply, to move to the side of the street if you cross a white person in the street, to always fear the police, and other things like that. She basically...
She gave the talk.
Yeah, okay, I'll talk about it more later. BT escapes some people who notice him, and they chase after him. BT avoids it, and we see him talking to Suit as they read another paper. It says that BT has been avoided by the police for 24 hours, and that over 1,000 black homes have been raided. This is where I mistook the other note. I have it in here. BT psychically sees what his mother and siblings are going through, and how his mother is begging Mrs. Dalton not to kill her boy. The racist detective then ushers Mrs. Dalton away, saying there's nothing that they can do for you. And that's kind of where I was like, I wasn't certain if BT was imagining what his mother was saying to Mrs. Dalton, or if we were actually being shown what was happening.
And a part of me wonders if this is because in the original play there are some really good monologues from the mother, and so they're trying to at least nod to those scenes where it's the mother trying to advocate for her son. Don't take my baby, don't kill my boy.
Yeah, that part is really, really emotional, because she's like, she tells, Mrs. Dalton, I'll work for you for the rest of my life, please don't kill my boy, like, that they're gonna kill him, he didn't do what they said he did, just really just putting herself on the line to try and save her son, and it hits you. It hits you hard right
rough.
in the feels.
It is rough.
BT gets a flashback to when his family was getting thrown out, and he's 15, and he gets into a fight with a cop who beats the crap out of him. We get the view, at least over the course of the show, that BT's family has been kicked out over the course of his life at least 2 times. I don't know if it was more than that, but there's been at least 2 incidences. Like, one of them, the building was condemned, and so the lady's like, well, you gotta get out. And the other one was cops kicking him out, saying that, this place is being... I can't remember why they were kicking him out.
Gentrification, most likely.
Yeah, probably. They're going to knock it down and put up something
Same
nicer.
as the condemned. It's like, oh, we've decided that this would be a really nice Applebee's. That is what we want right here, is an Applebee's.
But we live here.
Nope, it's an Applebee's now, which will go bankrupt in, 20 years.
Yeah, so... After the flashback of BT fighting with a cop, BT finishes his flashback and finds himself being surrounded by everyone in the entire show, yelling at him, calling him guilty. Then BT is in court. So I guess he's... This scene is a little confusing because we see people who are dead yelling at BT, and then the way I have it in my note, and then you can clarify for the audience, BT is in court in his head saying that he's guilty, and everyone is pointing at him and accusing him. We get BT having an internal conflict about how he didn't mean to do what he did. It was like someone else was in his body doing things while he was forced to watch. BT snaps out of his internal torment to real torment as the cops have closed in on him. Okay, so I'll finish this note.
Yeah. So it kind of jumps from the
Actually, I guess I answered myself. That previous note was him all internal.
Yeah.
It was all internal, because he later then does.
Yeah, and he does actually go to court. He does plead guilty in the source material. And it's like, you know that you're gonna get killed if you plead guilty. You're either gonna be in prison for the rest of your life, or you're gonna be killed. I know.
Yeah, the scene where that internal courtroom scene for him is really hard, because you get, Mary Dalton is there, the woman that he killed, his girlfriend that he did murder is
and
there.
She talks about, I woke up and I tried to claw my way out, but I froze to death.
Yeah. So she was beaten unconscious with a brick, and he thought she was dead, and then she survived a fall down a ventilation shaft. And then she tried to climb. Like, it's
brutal.
It's really brutal. But you also get this weird amount of sympathy for BT when he's just talking about how, it wasn't him, it didn't feel like him, he tried to stop, but he couldn't. And yeah, it's a conflicting series of events. So BT snaps out of his internal torment to real torment as the cops have closed in on him, beat him down, strip him naked, and then spray him with a hose, and execute him. But not before we get the lines from the beginning of the show about how there are two mirrors, how the world sees you and how you see yourself, but your mirror self can be influenced by the world's mirror, and you will find that you see yourself the way that the world tells you that you should see yourself. The end. Very, very, very freaking sad show. So there's a thing in there that I don't think I actually noted, but I don't think I will ever forget it. It stuck with me. So we have two scenes where BT is as a child, dealing with the death of his father. The first scene is his mother arguing with his father, and the kids talking amongst themselves, being like, Dad wants to go organize with others, and kind of thing, and like, they'll kill him if he does that, kind of thing, and he goes off, and the scene doesn't go much farther than that. And then we have a scene of the kids watching out a window as their father is being murdered by a mob. And that, I believe, actually, I think it's after that the mother then gives the speech about, don't talk to white people, you sir and ma'am, fear the police. Like, kind of gives him the I don't know, the Black American's Handbook to Surviving in White America.
Yeah, it's the talk. It's the talk.
The talk.
I mean, it's modified over the years, but we all get that talk at some point in our lives, usually before... Mine was before I was 8, so...
So, that scene really struck with me. It really... So there are, of course, cases... people can come from troubled backgrounds and grow up to not be, violent or abusive. There's statistics, if you're from a family that has alcohol abuse, you're much more likely to be an alcoholic yourself. Things like that. People who come from abused families are much more likely to be abusers themselves. Things like that. And the reason that exists is because, people have a lot in common with, we get programmed. When you're a kid, you very much get programmed. If you grow up in a family that tells you that you're worthless and stuff like that, you'll grow up believing that you're worthless. And we kind of get that with BT. He is, to an extent, a product of his environment, his upbringing, the way that society has treated him and his family. And he is a monster that society created.
Yep.
He is a monster as a result of other monsters.
Yep. He is the product of white supremacy.
Yeah. And it's really frustrating, too, because over the course of the show, with the exception of, like, Mary, her mother, and Jan, every other white person is very dismissive and offensive and belittling to every black person that they encounter. And it kind of becomes this thing of because of the trauma that BT had as a child and carrying that with him and having that shape him as a young man and then an adult, he ends up proving all those horrible people right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's that whole thing of the world calls you a rat and you became a rat kind of thing. And it really, really, really sucks, and it really, really, really hurts. But it's that kind of hurt that I feel like people need every now and again to shake you up and to kind of remind you that, you know, we make these monsters.
Yeah.
Our prejudice hurts. Discrimination hurts. Like, you are hurting another human being, and you are helping to shape that human being in a negative way.
Yeah. And there's only so long that a person can handle that before it explodes.
In some form.
Implodes.
Yeah. Which I think that's a very common thing too. The imploding, that can, you know, that's where you get... Well, I mean, that's where you usually get... Imploding is usually where you get substance abuse and stuff like that.
Or attempting suicide.
Or you know, stuff like that, because you're abusing yourself. Yeah. Rather than taking that abuse and abusing somebody outside of you. It's a complicated sociological issue that we can't really tackle and solve on our podcast, but we can at least point out the fact that we can make it better by not being a bunch of jerks.
Yeah, not being a bunch of jerks. Access to mental health care where you can have someone who's a safe sounding board that knows how to assist you out of that dark place. Because therapy saved me.
Yeah.
Therapy can save so many people.
Therapy is helpful.
It can save you from imploding or exploding.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me...
and it should be free.
Yeah.
It should be covered. But that's my soapbox, and I won't.
I agree with that. But it reminds me of something that I've heard... It sounds weird to say it, but it's something I've heard black comedians say before about how and you can vouch for this, that in the black community, mental health is incredibly stigmatized, and it's very much treated as something that, depression is for people who don't actually have problems.
Yep.
Depression is for white people.
Yep.
Because we black people have real problems going on that we need to deal with, so we don't have time for depression.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And it's a really messed up position to be in, because it's and we see that a bit with BT and his family. Same kind of thing. They have some serious issues, but their issues really can't get addressed because they are just barely hanging by, just barely making it.
Yep.
Just barely putting crumbs on the table, you know?
Yes. And that's part of that issue, and it's why that issue exists. Yeah, because, man, little bit of personal stuff, but, you know, my dad didn't believe in mental health care, so, you know,
No, it was he strikes me as one of those people who it was you're upset, I'll give you something to be upset about.
That's exactly what.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those, I'm amazed I didn't explode, but I'm the type of person to more go inward rather than outward.
You and I are more imploders than exploders.
Yeah, and so that's where I kind of see the bigger is the alternative for me. Like, if I were an exploder, then it could have gotten much worse had I not had help. Whereas instead it was like, hey, time to destroy yourself, instead of let's put your whole body into musical theater and dance until you can't dance anymore and stuff like that. So block out the pain.
Yeah. So I just thought about something, either that or I'm remembering something that I thought previously. One of BT's kind of trigger things throughout the whole show is, are you scared? Oh, don't be scared. Oh, are you afraid? Oh, don't be afraid. You know, depending on who he's talking about, he's either called a coward by people who want to hurt him, or he's told not to be afraid by people who want to help him. And that is a big trigger thing for BT. Anytime someone's telling him, don't be afraid, or what are you afraid, the scene is going to have something go wrong in it.
Yeah.
And we kind of, I think that the seeds of that are planted by his mom after his dad is killed, because his mom tells him, you be afraid.
Yes.
You be afraid of these white folks. These white folks want to kill you. And it's a rough show. It's a well done show.
Yep.
It is well acted. It is I was going to say it's well sung, but no, it's not a musical.
There's a little bit of music in it.
I mean, there's music in it, but there's no songs. Oh, I beat my girlfriend with a brick and threw her down an air shaft. Like, there's none of that, you know. I was supposed to be a chauffeur, but then I killed this white woman. Like, there's no music. It's not a musical. Yeah,
it's a very, very rough show. I think it's very important. I think
it's very good.
I think that the promo for this one's going to be Bird Brain, so that people can then go from this to get uplifted again by Bird Brain.
Isaiah
Isaiah
would be great to have in this.
Cleanse your palate with the Bird Brain podcast.
So
have some good uplifting words after this, because we will probably need that after this show.
So I feel like I have said just about everything I can say about the show without repeating myself.
Yeah.
Do you have anything you'd like to say?
My final thoughts. Just this definitely is a show about this is what white supremacy has created. White supremacy created Bigger Thomas. And wrapped into white supremacy, too, is lack of access to appropriate mental health care.
Appropriate everything.
Shelter,
everything. Food,
but
education, healthcare, everything across the board.
Across the board, but like the thing that can sometimes help when you're getting that dark is just someone to listen. Preferably someone professionally trained to do so, that you can, they listen and then they can help you work through, what do we do next? What do you do next? What can, it's not the solution, but it's one of the treatments that can help. And then, because it's going to be hard to get America to just completely solve the white supremacy problem in one day.
No.
It's so deeply entrenched in the country, it's going to take a long, long time, especially because people are still not accepting that it's an actual problem.
That systemic issues are real and that they have ripple effects for centuries.
Yeah. And this is one of the ripples. And, maybe this exact version of Native Son needs to be shared more with more people, so that because it's sometimes hard to just read it in a book or to have it read to you in an audiobook, but if you watch it and you watch how it happens, then that may assist, especially because this one is so cerebral about it.
Yeah, I think the other thing, too, that helps with having, like you're talking about, rather than reading it or having it read to you, is having professional actors evoke it, because they live that character, they live that character's emotions, they bring that character to life, and they make it more real. It feels less removed.
Yeah.
You feel more included and more of a observer.
Yes.
More of yeah. And one thing I want to kind of add to about your topic of seeking help for therapy, mental health stuff. There is definitely stigmas, after talking with you in certain communities about mental health. There is also a stigma in mental health with men, because so much of society is that you have to be tough, that emotions are weak, that stuff like that. And that's something that I struggle with myself, in that I have not been to therapy in a long time, even though I would benefit from it. And you're not weak for needing help.
Exactly.
And that can be a hard hurdle to overcome. Because very much of the machismo culture is that if you can't do it by yourself, then you're weak. And when you're dealing with mental health, especially, that is an insidious disease that you're dealing with.
Yes.
You will get those whispers of, oh, you don't need antidepressants. You can do this by yourself. Oh, you don't need to talk to somebody. You can do this by yourself. Depression is very, very insidious.
Yeah. All of them are.
Yeah.
All of them are. And that's the other thing with it, is that it's not needing help like something is bad about you. Sometimes it's needing help to cope with what society has done to you.
Yeah, to cope with the world around you.
That was one of the first things that the greatest therapist that I've ever had was basically going, okay, we're going to teach you to cope with what this country has done to your people. And it's giving tools to help out, because sometimes you can't call the same numbers. Sometimes you can't go to the same people that everyone else goes to. So instead you get another toolbox to help you out with it, because your therapist can't dismantle white supremacy on his own either, but he can give you tools to work around it. Or she, or they. They can give you tools to work around it. But, good old emotional episode today.
Yeah. Boy.
Yep.
I hope y'all enjoyed listening to
Native Son was therapy there.
Yeah.
Ready for what next week is?
Dear Lord, yes. Please tell me it's something a little more chipper. Just
a little bit more?
Yeah.
You get to watch Sidney Poitier.
Okay.
So that's good. We're going to be covering Raisin in the Sun, because I am getting you closer and closer to the reward at the end of the month, which is George C. Wolfe's Colored Museum.
I like raisins. That's okay. You're allowed to not like raisins.
Raisins are liar chocolate chips. Well, raisins are why I have trust issues.
Raisins are geriatric grapes.
Raisins are grapes that need to hydrate. Raisins drink too much soda. But yeah, no, we're going to be covering Raisin in the Sun. Not a super upbeat show, but it's important. I am sorry to say that our run-up to Colored Museum is not 100% chipper, but
that's okay.
At least you got Green Pastures and Cabin in the Sky to start it out.
Yeah. That's a thing.
Basically, Colored Museum is my way of having you have a Black theater history review without me writing out a review. I'm going to make George C. Wolfe do it.
No Kahoot game this year?
No Kahoot game this year, I don't think. I was looking at my calendar, and I don't think it'll work. We'll see. But probably not. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Maybe we'll do a Kahoot game at the very end of the year. That could be fun. Anyway, thank you all so much for listening to this very emotional episode of Tone Deaf.
If you'd like to reach out to Kay and I, you can do so at our home base, which is tonedeafmusical.com. There we have links to our social medias, our Twitters, our Facebooks, our Instagrams, as well as a link to the Cast Junkie Discord server, where we have our own Not Safe for Work channel. Don't let that scare you. It's actually surprisingly mellow. And if you're 18 or older and you want to pop in and say hi and talk about musical theater, please feel free to do so. We also share pictures of our pets.
Yeah, it's really only 18 and up for swears in there, and occasional inappropriate jokes, but that's it, because sometimes Warren needs to be Warren.
I'm sorry for me.
If you want to help out the show, please leave a review on iTunes, Podchaser, Stitcher, I think Podomatic does it. Wherever you can review your podcast, it really helps out the show, helps us move up the charts. If you want to go above and beyond, please check out our Patreon, which is Tone Deaf Musical. There we have some bonus episodes for you. You can get a shout out in the intermission of our show. Or if you want to buy something more tangible, you can go to our TeePublic store, which is linked at tonedeafmusical.com, where you can get masks and hoodies and t-shirts and stickers and John the Giant Pink Sea Snail. Anyway, I think that'll be it for this episode. I'm Kay.
I'm Warren.
And this has been Tone Deaf. We have some pizza in the fridge I think we need to kill.
Yeah, there's a dog that wants their dinner.
Go. Like Pac-Man.